welcome to Rewind. It's another opportunity to hear some of the most important conversations from some of the most important leaders in our entire business. This is a series called TV Reset that was brought to you by BTV and the VAB. I want you to hear one of the most important conversations that was part of this series or anywhere else in our ecosystem during the last few months. It's between Louis Carr, the president of BET Media Sales, and Bill Koenigsberg, the CEO, president, and founder of Horizon Media. It's a brave conversation and an overdue exchange on racial equality and the great distance that the overall marketing media ecosystem has to go to get where it needs to get to in terms of being able to say that it's made real progress on racial equality. You're going to hear brave questions, you're going to hear challenges, and ultimately these two leaders challenge the marketing, media, agency, and advertising ecosystem to do considerably better, to be measured, to have courage, and to install real and permanent change. The VAB as well is committed to upping our output on how brands win with multicultural media. So this summer, in mid-August, you're going to see us release a study, custom study, where we take a look at how 20 brands have gotten better business results, higher KPIs, better ROI through the use of multicultural and diverse media. It's a good read. But now, for an excellent conversation, please lean in, pay attention. Louis Carr, Bill Koenigsberg are going to have a brave talk.
Good morning, Louis. It is
Bill.
such a pleasure to see you this morning. Your smiling face, the big BET logo behind you, pretty cool. And
you think it's big enough, Bill?
I'd make it a little bigger. and you know what, Louis? I was thinking about the fact that you and I hate to age ourselves, but I think we go back at least 25 years, which is pretty amazing.
Let's leave it at 25.
Leave it at 25. Yeah. And for me, first of all, I'm so lucky to call you my friend, number one. You're an incredible ambassador. You're an amazing role model. And I think that this discussion that you and I are going to have this morning is probably one of the most important, if not the most important discussion that you and I have had over the last 20 plus years. So thank you so much for joining me. You know, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, Louis, in the last few weeks, you know, we've all been horrified by the scenes of racial injustice that we've seen. We're all numb to it. At the same time, many of us have been inspired by the massive outcry, you know, for real and immediate change for racial equality. And when you think about the arc of history and things that have taken place prior to this, and the sheer size and importance of the current countrywide and actually global movement, long overdue for change, where are we in that arc of history in your opinion?
Well, Bill, I think as the old adage goes, these are the worst of times and the best of times. I think when you think about racial injustice that has been around since the beginning of time, and now it is no secret to anyone that it does exist and it has to be changed, and to be led by young people, which when you think about history, all change has been led by young people who said they've had enough. So whether you're thinking about the Vietnam War, or you think about civil rights, or whatever sort of civil uprising, it has all been led by young people. And to see the multitude of people around the world, I saw something just yesterday. Tokyo had almost 3,000 people marching in the streets for racial equality. So when you think about that, it's now this sort of mark on American history has been focused on, and people are, really trying to fix it. Not all people, but a lot of people are trying to fix it. I think it is a great opportunity. And when you think about where it lands in American history, I think it's the most important challenge of the last 100 years. for us all to sort of join in and create change and fix this problem.
Wow. So you're a big believer, and I hope that we're all right, that this is not just another moment in time that we've seen constantly repeat itself, but an actual time to change the moment.
Yes. And I'm inspired and believe that, Bill, because I've had conversations with young people who basically say they're adamant about change, that they're not going to get tired, that they're not going to quit. And I think that should motivate everyone, including yourself and me, to do our part, because they clearly have got the attention of the entire world. I think for people like you and I who have access to influence and who have power bases, it's up to us to sort of close the deal. And I think that's sort of what keeps me inspired, because I am committed to these young people and their future. And I think when I talk about future, it's future of Black people, but it's also future of our industry, it's future of our country, because all people, this is a scourge on all people if we don't get it fixed. So I'm excited about doing my part, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, I'm actually, Lewis, for the first time, unfortunately, seeing real hope of change, and the chatter is getting louder, not softer, and I
Yes.
think that's really, really positive. So, I'm curious, not curious, but 3.5 months ago, we all went home, work from home when I'll call it the first pandemic hit, the first virus. And I would imagine, like our company, BET was all hands on deck, working with advertisers
Yes.
to try to help them through this crisis. And then a worse pandemic hit that we all witnessed, the awful killing of George Floyd. Take me inside BET. Take me inside that day when all of you saw this video, and how you, with your audiences that are so critically important and part of the fabric of this country and culture. Talk to me a little bit about what went through your leadership team's minds and the actions that you needed to take, and how you were going to be there for the constituencies that you serve and the voice that you were going to come out with.
Well, I think first of all, we were all very saddened that the incident happened. But at the same time, we knew we had a tremendous obligation to our consumers, to our business partners, and even more personally to our families. That this was sort of our time to sort of live up to our brand promise. And so we all gathered and we said, number one, we have to inform our community of what's happening in the country and in the world today. We have to get the opinions of the people who, what we call in this pandemic, essential frontline workers. We wanted to know how they felt. We wanted to know why they were doing certain things. And we had to get all of our platforms ready to be able to cover this firsthand. We also wanted to get the opinions of some of the major Black thought leaders in this country who have been dealing with this for a very, very long time. And then we wanted to start talking about solutions. At the same time, Bill, we had to deal with our own employee base because we just, couldn't assume that everybody was okay and everybody was going to sort of deal with this. There's a lot of emotions. There have been a lot of people, just like with the first pandemic, COVID-19, have been affected personally. I would probably say, Bill, there's probably not a Black man who has been driving longer than 3 to 5 years have not had some type of interaction with police that they wouldn't say it wasn't the best sort of
Yep.
situation, including myself. So we had to deal with our own employee base try to make sure that they were okay. So we had town hall meetings and things like that. So to address the issue at the time, similar to what we did with COVID-19. And we then had to think about, where do we go from here? So as we sort of look at our future, this is sort of a thing that is not going to go away in a month or 2 months or 3 months. And we started to create different things. We made an announcement a couple of weeks ago about a new pillar called Content for Change. And this pillar is basically content that's going to make people think. It's going to motivate them. It's going to inspire them. And it's going to educate them. You know, one of the things, Bill, that I think why we have so much racism in this country is lack of education. The majority of Black people in this country have to start learning about white culture from a very, very young age. Understanding the history, understanding not just American history, but world history. Most white people in this country don't have to learn anything about Black history and the contributions that African Americans have made to this country and to the world. So we wanted this Content for Change platform to really educate people to understand, educate our consumers, educate consumers and lovers of Black culture also. So we understand that it's a mission for us. It's not just a job. We're very passionate about it. We're very emotional about it. And we're very inspired about the opportunity that lies ahead for us.
Yeah, and I think from what I have seen and the content I've seen and your voice that you've shown over the last couple of weeks has really been inspirational. And for those people who've not seen the love letter piece that you did, it was beautiful, and it was a letter basically, you know, to your audience, to your community, that embraced them and showed them the love. And I thought that it was so well done. People should just be running that, you know, all over the place. Can you talk a little bit, you know, about that, because it was so touching and so moving, and just the perfect tone.
It was the brainchild, Bill, of our CMO, Kim Page, and that during this time of civil unrest and so much pain and hurt that our community was going through, we needed to let them know that they are loved, and that the number one brand that is serving them loves them very intimately, that we understand what they're going through and we're going through it right with them. And that during this time where families of George Floyd and so many other people, Breonna Taylor, have been impacted, there has to be a brand and a voice that says, we know you're suffering, we know you're hurting, but we love you, we support you, we are right there with you. And we wanted to do it in a very loud voice to sort of let the world and America know specifically that we understand. You've seen me on stages, Bill, and I've said, we know more about Black people than anybody on the planet. And that's not because we're just Black, because we've put the resources, the time, the energy in studying their habits, their trends, and understanding what they go through on a day-to-day basis. So this is really not a big surprise to the leadership at BET. It is a surprise that it's happening at the same time we have another pandemic.
Yep.
So that makes it a little challenging, but it's also inspiring that we do believe change is on the horizon.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for all those people who are viewing this video right now, if you've not seen the love letter piece from BET, I urge you to go take a look at it. It's like a warm blanket on a really cold winter night, and you gave this amazing hug to lots of people, and I think it meant an awful lot. So well done, well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Louis, tell me something. You know, you also, you know, have been a partner and a great partner to a lot of top advertisers and marketers. What's the response been to from your partners over the last couple of weeks? Have you seen a change? Has it been business as usual? Are you feeling, a lot more love? Like, what have you been experiencing from your partners out there?
I would sort of classify it in three buckets, Bill. We've had a lot of our partners that have called and basically said, we want to lean into this. We want to do something different. We want to partner. We want you to consult us on some things. So we've had that group of partners. We've had some partners who basically called and said, we want to apologize for what they've done. So I call it, Bill, looking out the window instead of looking in the mirror.
Wow.
So we've had that group of partners, and then we've had some people who are just silent. They just don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. So they're doing nothing. So they sort of fall in those three groups. For those partners who basically have reached out and are saying, we want to do something different. We want to hold calls to sort of talk about this. And the subject matters, Bill, has been from diversity and inclusion in their own environments to sort of how do we create a better partnership for our clients, or how do we create a better partnership for our brands? Probably some of them have leaned in more than others, and we applaud them. But some of them still have to sort of get off the sidelines and get involved.
Yeah, Louis, probably 7 years ago, I led an industry initiative where, you think about it, and I, kind of shiver that this was even taking place 7 or 8 years ago, where certain agency buying specs would read, no African American, no Hispanic, like completely discriminate that they couldn't be on the, on the buy spec. And I led an industry initiative to get the holding companies, agencies to pledge that would never happen again. And that if media partners felt that they were being discriminated against, there was a call to action to have some recourse at the highest levels. Over the last 7 years, do you think much has changed? Have you felt the difference?
No. I think what has happened, Bill, is, we've had a lot of downsizing over the last 7 years. We've had a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And when you have a lot of change, usually diversity and inclusion gets pushed to the bottom. We can't deal with that now. And a lot of CEOs that's, openly say that. We've got P&L issues, we've got capital issues, cost, and everything like that. So they don't see the importance of it to their overall business. For me, that's been disappointing. And I think that needs to change, because I do believe that it's a key ingredient to any successful business. When you sort of look at my employees, it is the most diverse group in the industry. And that didn't happen by happenstance. It happened by design. I think when you bring different people with different views and different backgrounds together, you get the most creative sort of ideation and strategies than you would have had without it. So I think people need to look at it as a business objective, a core business objective, and they need to put measurement and metrics behind it. Internally, I've asked my African American employees to have a voice. So when we have meetings and we're talking about, racial issues and inequality, I want to hear from them, directly from them in that same meeting. I don't want to have a separate conversation. I want them to feel comfortable that they can express their opinions, whether people agree or not. And that type of environment has to be created and has to be promoted within all of our companies, that there is a voice for everybody. Everybody's opinion counts. And I think we need to do that more. And I think we need to hold people accountable, Bill. So if we're saying we're going to do this, we've got to put goals and objectives and timelines, just like you would do with any business. As I told a group of people the other day, if this was a business and we had to say, what are your goals the first 12 months, the first 36, 5 years from now, they will be clearly stated, and there would be metrics, and there would be measurements along the way. And if you were not hitting that, you probably wouldn't be there. So I think we have not treated as a real business objective and a real core business sort of ingredient that we need for success.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more, Lewis. I think each of us have to take ownership and be accountable for what those metrics and what those results are. But tell me something, I think part of the problem is understanding and education. We kind of talked about that before a little bit. You've said to me on multiple occasions, you walk into these upfront dinners and these upfront presentations where you're talking to the ad community, and you and your leadership team look around the room and you're the only people of color in the room. And then you go back and you call on the agencies, and there is a lack of color and people within those agencies who are making decisions on their clients' behalf. And I think part of the problem is that these people are not reflecting reality in terms of how the world should be viewed, and therefore maybe aren't even in a position to educate their clients the right way. How do you see that changing? And you and I have also talked about the fact that, I've said, you've heard the comment, I can't find the talent. And you said, Bill, that bullshit. That's a cop-out. That's a complete cop-out. So what's your perspective on that? And I do think that is an education process, and it is it is beholden upon ourselves to make sure that we've got the right people and the right resources and the right understanding, because I think many clients are missing out.
Right. So, one of the things I say, let's start with some of the basics.
Yep.
And I say, people wake up and look at the optics. If you walk into a room, Bill, and it was all guys, just all guys, the optics were like, something's wrong here. It just doesn't feel right. I'll give you an example. I was at a New York restaurant probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was a table that was probably 25, 26 people, and it was all men. And I was eating, and I was with a client, and they kept saying, Lewis, why are you staring over there? I said, because that's strange to me. That's just strange. What type of, and you could tell they were business people, Bill, because they all had on, business attire. I'm like, what type of business is that it would be all men at a dinner? Where are the women? Where are the people of color? So first thing I would say, let's just do some basics, and let's look at the optics. And if you see optics that don't look right, you've got to question it. How did that happen, and how fast can we change it? I don't think any of us in our industry could walk into a room and see all men and think that's okay. That would be a problem. I think the second thing we've got to do is understand the value that different people bring to your environment, and just the different backgrounds. You and I, we would probably call ourselves Renaissance men, all right? Because we understand the value that different cultures and different lifestyles bring to your overall being and business. It educates, we thrive to be educated about things that we don't know. I think we need to do that in our business. I think the next thing is we're operating, Bill, off of old qualifications. You know, I look at some of the job descriptions that people have, and I'm like, it don't take all of that now. It don't take 12, 15 years of experience. You gotta be kidding. Because number one, young people are smarter today than they were when you and I graduated from college, all right?
Yep,
Our college work they're doing in high school right now, okay?
it's
Some
true.
of it they're doing in grammar school, all right? So they're much smarter than some 30, 40 years ago. So I think we need to think about our qualifications. Are we overthinking this? I sort of did an evaluation, Bill, of the people who work for me and have been extremely successful based on some of the qualifications that companies have out there right now. They could not have been hired. They could not have been hired. I mean, you know, I think we just need to evaluate what it takes to get the job done today versus what it took 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Now, we do know a lot of those qualifications are intentional to keep people out. That's a bad thing. But some of them are not intentional. They just lack creativity in our industry. I think as a person who owns an agency, Bill, you know, you're always looking for a better way, a more creative way, to be more efficient, to be more exciting. And you're looking for people to sort of bring that into your environment. Several years ago, we went to how to attract millennials and how to sort of make them comfortable in our environments. The whole industry spent a ton of money on consultants. You know, how do we attract these people to this industry and then create an environment that they can be successful and the business can be successful? What are the things they're going to bring that we don't have? So I think we need to do that with diversity and inclusion, sort of reevaluate the qualifications and what people bring to the environment. I spend a lot of time around young people, Bill, and some of my friends say, because Louis, you think you're their age, all right? But it's exciting to me to be a part of their world, to hear their views and understand how they're looking at the world. I'm sure you've done a lot of focus groups. Most young people that are involved in social issues say they want to save the world. And they have very strong opinions about brand participation. I'm sure you sat in some of those meetings, right? And
Yep.
heard their feedback on some of your clients. They have super strong opinions about how brands should engage in political and social and economic issues in this country. We can't ignore that. So I think we need to do the same thing when it comes to people of color. Number one, be awake and look at the optics and question yourself, is that the type of optics that I want people to see? Number two, change the qualifications that we're looking for, because smart people, Bill, as we know, are smart people, all
Yep.
right? And number three, create environments that they can be successful in at the end of the day. So if you're going to integrate women into an environment, you would have to change an awful lot of things, right? And you've done that. You've been in business long enough. You got to change some things. You got to change everything from the bathrooms to how people communicate and how people engage. So you got to do that. And finally, you got to put a value proposition on them being in that environment and make sure that they're able to contribute in a very easy way to be able to be successful.
I am hopeful that we're going to see more change in the next 2 years than we've seen in the last 20. And by the way, I believe we have the power to do it. When there's a will, there's a way. And people need to make change. And I'm feeling optimistic that we're going to see that. And final question. If, we were having this conversation a year from now, year and a half from now, what would success look like to you? And I know we can talk the next hour on that, but some basics. What would success look like to you from a talent perspective? What would success look like for you from marketers supporting the right communities? And what would success look like for you within your own organization? Let's just, those three things.
Okay. I think from an industry standpoint, it will be very visible. You will see more African Americans at every level within major corporations in our industry, at the leadership level and at the entry level, and you would see a pipeline. And whether you call those interns or mentorships or whatever, you could a pipeline of people that will be brought into the organization. I think you will see partnerships among agencies and brands with companies like BET and other companies that represent this marketplace that not only just exchange dollars for spots or for banners or whatever the case may be. There will be real partnerships that will be partnerships based on understanding and learning about Black people and their contributions. And we know, and we have real data that say that a lot of brands would be better if they're led by sort of Black insights and Black research. One of the greatest things about this movement, Bill, is young Black people started months and months ago saying you can't love Black culture and hate Black people. I remember Rihanna said that in the NAACP Image Awards. So all of you who love Black culture, get off the sidelines and join us in this fight for equality, because most brands have benefited in some form or fashion from Black culture, whether it's the music that they use in their spots or the talent that they use, because it influences way beyond our community. It influences society. So I think we also want people to learn about that culture, how it's created, and how Black people engage in that culture and how they can benefit by engaging with it. And I think the final thing, Bill, that we want to see in the industry is that people who are doing the creative, the strategies, the buys, plans, that they are more inclusive. At the end of the day, people are asking, how does this affect African Americans? How are we engaging? How are we influencing? And that's everything from what we see on screen to what we see on buys to what we see on plans. I think that will be the proof that's in the pudding. And Bill, I'm not just hopeful. I'm committed. So I know there's going to be a change because I am challenging the people who have the power. And whether that is you or some of your other competitive agencies out there, we know we have the power. So let's just do it.
Yeah, well, Louis, listen, I am looking so forward to partnering with you. You've had me hypnotized for the last 30 minutes with your incredible articulation of what we need to do as an industry. It has been such a pleasure chatting with you this morning, and I look forward to some good times ahead for us and the industry. And for everybody's sake, I hope lots of people view this interview because it's critically important for us and the future of where we're going. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill, for doing this. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to being your key partner in creating change. And let's do this, Bill. Let's me and you be the example for the industry of how you don't have to wait that long. You don't have to, turn over the apple cart. In a lot of cases, you just have to start doing something dramatic immediately. So I'm committing that to you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Louis. Stay healthy.
All right, you too.